Hey, welcome to Challenge Accepted. I am Frank, and I'm here with Thomas.
Aloha, everybody. I'm very excited to talk about this one.
The puns are serious today, guys. We have the finale to X-Men 97 today. Immediate reactions on this. What do you think?
Flawless. This
Yeah.
is a 10 out of 10 for me. You're always worried about how they're going to stick the landing.
hmm
And this one, they did it. This is like Simone Biles winning that gold medal. Like, they crushed it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to find some things that to kind of nitpick, to be honest with you. I'm trying to think of things that are. My only thing is the fact that Jubilee apparently could breathe in space. That's the only thing I can think of. Other than that, like everything else is so freaking perfect. Um, do
Yeah.
you what do you think about Bastion's fate? I really like how in this series, I thought for sure we are gonna have. They subverted a lot of our expectations. I thought Cyclops was gonna lean in on like the, mutants only, forget the humans thing. But when the time came, he's like, no, I'm gonna go back to Professor X's strategy and actually embrace my enemy. What did you think about that?
Oh, I loved it. That totally subverted my expectation because it's true. Like the whole time they've been asking humanity to accept them and find the peaceful route. Of course, they should try to embrace the same philosophy. And I liked that. I mean, I did want all of those mutants that were left to have like one final battle.
Yeah.
But I thought we got a lot of action in this episode still. That
hmm
was fantastic. So I was so cool with it. And I'm like, it still leads us into a crazy place where I think season two we're gonna get a lot of that as well.
Oh
So
God.
no
Yeah, season
complaints.
two's gonna be so good. All right, let's go ahead and get into our rundown. Then we can break down everything. So you're gonna be doing the rundown for us, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you ready? All right, go for it.
All right. Tolerance is Extinction Part 3. We start off with an apparent flashback to Charles and Eric in the bar talking about their philosophies. Charles is basically comes out to Eric. Eric comes out to him. A lot of great sayings in there as well.
hmm
We see that also that this basic magnetic blast has gone over the earth again, and we get cameos from so many people: Iron Man, Captain America, Daredevil, Doctor Strange, so many freaking characters. Then switches back to Bastion being on the beach with Sinister and Cable. Beast Forge and Storm are all captured in those
hmm
Sentinels. We get even more cameos. We'll talk about it. The Phoenix then arrives and basically saves Cable and the rest of the team. For Sinister gets all the DNA basically taken out of him and starts rapidly aging. From there, we see that Cyclops is standing over Wolverine and says, "Don't you dare break her heart. Be the best at what you do." Such an awesome tagline from
Yeah.
Wolverine. Heal. Now, Beast Storm and Morph Gene, they crash land on Asteroid M in a Sentinel after they've been working on it. The whole team now decides not to fight Bastion back after a battle has already gone on with Bastion with the team that's already at
Oh yeah.
Asteroid M, which is so damn good. Then Scott, Jean, and Nathan have a telepathic conversation in a diner. Tears, full tears for me.
Full tears. Yep.
Yeah.
30
Forge
seconds.
Oh, 30 seconds. Forge turns to Jean to encourage Wolverine. Sorry, that's getting the details. Professor X reaches out to Magneto. A lot of great conversations there. He has to basically pull him out. And they decide, again, to take the peaceful route. 6 months later, Forge is in the X Mansion. We see that Bishop now
10.
reaches out to him. We see some of the humans that are left. End credit scene, or I guess mid credit scene, Egypt 3000. No. This is before Egypt
Yeah.
3000 BC, after they have teleported, saving the universe. And then future 3960 AD, Scott and Jean are there. We see young Nathan.
Nailed it. That's a good job.
A little bit of it over, but yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, there was just so many little beats in this episode. I thought this was going to be way easier, but God, I wanted to get into the details because this episode has so many awesome details. Like, we're out of everything I said, where do you want to start first?
Oh God. Let's focus on the beachfront. Let's start there first. The initial battle with Bastion. What do you think about the idea of the Phoenix Force coming in? And was that too much of a cheat?
No, because we've been getting hints to it the whole time in the title sequence.
Yeah.
And we had to have some some nod to it, I think, in the show. I think people would be like, what about the Phoenix? What happened there? And even the fact that Madeline and Jean have been discussing that the whole time, I don't feel like it was a cheat because at one point, either Jean or Madeline had been the Phoenix. So, using that and showing that the Phoenix was still a part of Jean or Madeline still felt right to me.
Yeah.
What about you?
By the way, speaking of the intro, I've seen it throughout the entire season. Other people talking about like, oh, they keep showing Apocalypse in the intro, and it's like, yeah, but we're gonna get all, we're gonna get cast, all kinds of other people. Apocalypse too easy. Nope, that was them blatantly telling us Apocalypse is coming.
Yeah, I feel so like vindicated in my soul. Like I never went out and publicly said this, but I was pretty sure like we were not getting Onslaught. I was still pretty sure we were getting Apocalypse. And I love the fact that we are getting Age of Apocalypse. But with that being said, I don't think what Professor X did to Magneto doesn't mean we can't get Onslaught. I just knew that we would probably get Apocalypse at the end of the season before we got Onslaught. I just think if we get that character, again, Onslaught, we'll get it at the end or towards the end of season 2.
My prediction is that it's season 3 because we had this where they're bound like this and then throughout season 2 we'll get little snippets of Professor X showing tendencies that are, because the whole point of Onslaught is that he's like fighting this little piece of like hatred that came from Magneto until eventually it has a chance to manifest itself. So
and merge with Professor X's doubt in humanity.
Yeah, so eventually, like I think we'll see like signs of that throughout all of season 2, just like we had signs of the Phoenix Force coming in at all of this season. So
Yeah, and signs of Apocalypse too. Yeah, I agree with you. And also I think with the success of this season, maybe they can slow down some of the stories. Yeah. If I had one criticism this season, it's like they took so many great stories from the late 80s into the early 90s, and they kind of speed ran through them, like Inferno being one episode. I've heard a ton of people say that was crazy. I also agree that was a little rushed, but if you don't know if you're going to get a second season, you go for broke. And they fully went for broke on this one. So hopefully they can extend the Age of Apocalypse storyline along with extend the Onslaught storyline.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think they really should too. And then so we have Bastion there. We have his Sentinels there. They're trying to put the thing on his head, and it just feels like all is lost until the Phoenix Force comes in. What are your thoughts on I noticed at this point now, very much the Cable Jean relationship seemed like mother and son. Do you think they kind of properly progress that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. It was so earned because the whole time he was fighting it. He was like, you're not my mom. Like my mom was a world-class telekinetic. I mean, he's just throwing shade after shade on Jean. Yeah. And he's like, you're nothing like my mom. Now he has finally accepted like, no, okay, my mom comes from you. You are basically one and the same. Like you have those memories. I felt like it was so earned. And that conversation in the diner, like I said, like it just it pulled at every heartstring that my body has inside of this husk. Like it was just fully pulling at all of them. The way Cyclops was like, I never wanted to be like my dad. And, I always wanted to be there for you, but at least I get to say goodbye. The way Jean has always been like, even though, I didn't give birth to you, I still feel like you're my son. I still have all those memories. And the way he's finally like, you know what, you are my mom. And, the history books never did you justice about how amazing your mythos was. Yeah, like it's earned, man. Oh, I loved it.
I'm such a sucker for whenever Jean like lets him see through his regular eyes and like exposes his eyes. That whenever they do that, it's like, oh man, you guys got me again. I love that move.
Totally. And it's crazy because like, there's what X-Men, another element of what makes X-Men so great is that you talked about it last episode, which is like Magneto and Wolverine. Like the fact that Wolverine can never get to Magneto because he's made of metal, like is such an amazing part of this dynamic. And the same thing, the way that because of Jean's power is able to stop Cyclops from using his power so that he could see his son with his real eyes is like beautiful. Like what other story could do that? Yeah.
I love the idea. I was told that I have my father's eyes. Like, oh God, that's so good. Because there's only one person who's really seen his eyes, and that's so freaking cool. It was beautifully done, and I think that having them at the end, we see jump to the future and see Nathan there. We're gonna have a second chance of being parents. So I think we're gonna kind of flush this out now. Like we established it. Now let's see what it would actually be like and stuff like that.
Yeah, and if you want to see the intro to their relationship, you have the animated series. Like that's where Cable jumps in. They just think he's this badass rough dude who's there to like help their timeline or whatever. This season we get that they learn that they're his parents, and now you're right. Now they're like, okay, out of all these episodes and all this time we've spent with Cable, we finally get to be parents to young Nathan.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn, that's good. That was such a sick little tease. Man, I love what they did with the Summers this whole season.
Yes.
I'm a massive Cyclops fan. And just the way that they were able to kind of bring this story full circle and allow them to finally be parents is just like, it's so awesome.
Yeah.
So good.
Touching on that, are you familiar with that storyline of them in the future like that? I'm not familiar with those people.
It's briefly like, and I don't know it exactly. Like, I wish I knew it to a T. I didn't read these comics, but it has to do with Rachel Summers. She was a different timelines kid, basically, of Jean and Cyclops. Okay. So in a different timeline, they have a kid, Rachel, and she kind of gets flung into the future as well. And then she becomes Clan Ascani or Mother Ascani and forms Clan Ascani. So I don't know if they're saying that that's their kid who then is now raising Nathan, or if it's just, a different timeline that has to do with the Summers. But again, like with Nathan saying like, there was all these stories about how great my parents were. And that's what people, they basically created a religion around it, almost like the new Planet of the Apes with
Caesar.
With Caesar, yeah. Like he's such a historic and monumental figure that there's almost this religious belief around them. That's the way the Summers are, and that's what Clan Ascani is. It's like, and in a weird way, almost like the TVA. They want to like protect the timeline in a sense and do it the right way. And so, Nathan becomes a part of it and is kind of raised, I think I might be wrong, is kind of raised in Clan Ascani, thinking about how great they are. And also in this timeline, Apocalypse is the big bad who's like oppressed basically the whole world, not just mutants.
It's
or
his
humans.
ideal future. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I love how, X-Men is so multifaceted that like clearly oppression is such a big part for them. That's always been a thing. But also, I forgot how much time travel is important in the X-Men stories. But we're definitely reminded in X-Men 97 how important it is, like with both Bishop and Cable going around. And seeing Bishop jump at the end too, I was like, oh, that's beautiful.
yeah, man, good call out, because the show starts out grounded. It starts off with like racism and oppression, and then at one point we go to space, and then we got time travel. It's like incredible. I mean, you always reference Star Trek, but this level of science fiction was like my gateway into science fiction. Yeah. And this crap used to blow my mind as a kid. It's still blowing my mind that they made all of this work in one season in pretty much less than 30-minute episodes. But here we are, and I think they just delivered it so flawlessly with the amount of time and the amount of episodes that they had. Yeah,
it was truly amazing. So we have the battle going on at the beach. I want to shift into Asteroid M. The fight scenes there, I mean, every person, this show's very good about it, giving everybody a moment to shine. Seeing Rogue bust out the Gambit lines, oh, beautifully done.
Amazing call out. Yeah, amazing call out.
And then even Nightcrawler just like kind of showing like this is what Bamfin can really do, like kind of escalating. Because I think I'm familiar with how good he is and stuff like that, but seeing how fast he can do it, like that's so cool. Yeah.
Oh my God. All right. We've said this. All right. I feel like I've said this all season. Synergy powers all day. And this episode delivered that. You're right on Nightcrawler's Bamford, but like an unexpected duo that I didn't think would be so cool was him and Jubilee.
I know, right? Yeah. That threw me off. I was like, what? That's right. That's good.
I feel it was so sick. Her throwing the fireworks out and then him bamfing around with her as she shoots it. Oh my God. And for them to bring back the power that she got from the Mojo World episode where she learns about Absissa's power, like the scythes or like the razor blades that she's able to make out of the fireworks. Dude, so cool tying that back into this finale. And like, there's still so much room for Jubilee to grow. Like, God, that was cool.
We even got the hater line though from Bastion saying like, "What are you gonna hit me with 4th of July or something like that?" And it's like, yeah, I haven't heard that before.
Right.
It's like someone's been in the forums.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was pulled straight from the Reddit thread, right?
Yeah.
No, that was just so cool. I love that we finally get to see her shine. I feel, like there was touches of it. And if you did the homework from Bo Mile, he said, go back and see, I think it was called like the final decision or something. It was basically the last episode of season 1 of the animated series. And she gets some cool moments in that show too. But this was Jubilee at such a high level and really being a very important character to the whole team. Dude, oh man, I loved it.
So well done. And it just there was one particular thing I made sure that I was threading while I was watching it, of course, where we saw Cyclops like use his eye beams and then like escalate them to that big fat wide one. And I was like, that's Capcom right there. That's Capcom versus the X-Men. You see, or like the way he does that and like clears the entire screen and just back and forth with Bastion. Like I said, everybody had their moments to shine and it felt very, very cool. One of the moments I want to shout out though, and I thought was a beautiful little moment to shine, was when Wolverine is sitting there just trying to heal. He's not helpful in the fight at all. And Morph says, Jean can't say it, but I can. And he turns into Jean and says, I love you. And it was like, that's cool. That's really neat.
Yeah, it was just like, he knows what his friend has always wanted, and it's like, he's in a weird way is one of the only people that can actually give him that.
Right.
And, I know there's been a lot of debate online is Morph in love with Wolverine, or are they just good friends? The actor that plays Morph says, I truly just believe they're really good friends.
Okay.
But the internet can decide. Bo Mayo can maybe let us know more in season 2. But I truly just think if you could give your friend who needed any type of encouragement at his like darkest moment where he's holding on to life, like, wouldn't you want to give that to them? And of course, Morph does. And I think that is just like such a beautiful moment, man. Like that was like, I was like, wow, what a nice touch. We get so many great friend moments. And I think this borderline for me falls in like, wait, are they in love? Which was Professor X and Magneto.
Yeah, I know.
This was kind of going into that territory, and I'm like, I'm all for it, but it would be outside of like the canon from the comic books, I feel like, and I don't know. I wonder if they're going that direction.
There was a part where I was like, kiss.
Yeah.
No, I know. But that's the thing is he was explaining to Magneto like, because Magneto's big thing is he can't remember his parents' face and stuff like that. And he's like, look, me and the X-Men don't look alike, but we are family. And I very much felt like that was an invitation. Like, so are you, Magneto. You may have been our adversary on every corner. We still see you as family and brothers, right? Brotherhood. And so I really felt like it was kind of just connecting with Magneto on that level. And man, I was cheering when he remembered his name again. Like, it's such a weird thing for thought segments to work well on screen. Like a lot of times when you see like thought battles or whatever, they don't really look cool. Right. But the way that Magneto like remembered his name and then came in to stop Asteroid M from falling, I was like, that was clean.
That was, and total flashback to the animated series too. We finally get to see that moment that they talked about in the original series about being in the bar. So like we were in the bar just, discussing things and our philosophy, and it allows this moment for Professor X to kind of come out to Magneto, and then Magneto too, right? Where he's like, I might be able to bend minds to my will. And he goes, metal, it bends to my will.
I love that part.
Oh my God. Such the wordplay in this show is second to none. I'm floored by that. It's just beautiful. It's poetic. It just lands at every level. And I also found it, the last episode of the animated series, which was the homework from Bo Mile, was the final decision, which was the last episode of season 1. And there's also a tie in there of Magneto and Professor X working well together. And it just like, I feel like, man, the way they're able to honor the history of the comics, but also the original series, and then make it make sense for this one was so damn good. But you're right. I think him allowing him, like, he's like, if we drown too in the metaphorical, ocean of our mind, I'll drown with you, my friend. And like, it just works well. I think you made a great call out. Thought battles don't always work really well.
This one definitely did. Yeah. And even that line in the bar too, where Professor X was saying, what if I am a, or what if I am a mutant or whatever? And then he says, run before someone starts dreaming about camps.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you felt the history in that statement.
Oh my God. Yeah, exactly. But you also see their difference in the belief. Like, no, don't you think people would want like mutants to help if they could? Like if they had the power to, why wouldn't they? And it's just like I've always related to I think Professor X more. I feel like I'm more of an optimistic person. And yet I have more love for Magneto because of what he's gone through and what he's had to see and had to endure. And like you just understand his pain. So yes, in all of his lines in this episode, man, they just hit so hard.
The dialogue's incredibly tight, and I think what sums up the two of them very much is Professor X says, when other people find out about mutants, they'll fear them. And right away, Magneto cuts in and says, they'll hate them. And the difference between fearing them, which means you can eventually understand it and accept it, and hating them, which means you just want its extinction, the name of the episode. I really felt like that right there sums up their entire philosophies.
Yeah. Wow. Well said. Yeah. Absolutely.
What a great episode all around. Is there any other highlights you want to make sure to mention out of this episode?
How have we not talked about the cameos?
Let's talk about the cameos. Yeah, I'll list mine. I'll list a few of them, then you catch up what I didn't get. Okay, so I was just like, it's all in my margins right now, just like listing everybody. Captain America, Iron Man, both protecting the president, which I was like, that makes sense. That's why they're probably not helping. Doctor Strange trying to do surgery with no power. That's cool to see him back at his old. I like Daredevil's out there like, oh wait, the power was off.
Yeah. My second favorite character of all time, Daredevil.
Such a good character. Well written.
God, just so his power set, the Christian guild, I guess it's Catholic guild, but like I could relate to that as a young kid. And man, seeing Daredevil in this, I can't tell you, I was up on my feet. Yeah. Like clapping. Christina was watching next to me. She never stays up at midnight watching with me. And I was like, oh my God, they're bringing it. And even just seeing Iron Man, I was like, holy crap. Anyways.
Cloak and Dagger popping up too. Like those are some deeper cuts. Yeah.
Deep cut. I know. I was like, holy crap. They're going there with that one.
Now, yeah, Peter Parker and Mary Jane, not Spider-Man, but Peter Parker, like watching the news, almost like, what can I do? This isn't going to be a thing that we could stop. We have to just embrace each other kind of moment. You know?
But not only that, we got Spider-Man 98 in an earlier episode, and now we see like they're very clearly saying, hey, Spider-Man 98 could come back.
Oh, yeah.
So just hold on, you know? Yeah.
We have T'Chaka, Black Panther, and his army, and it's just so many really cool moments in this thing. But one of the things I liked was T'Chaka saying, hopefully the next generation, in comparison to other things. So T'Chaka saying, hopefully the next generation will read their history books instead of their Bibles. And I was like, okay, that makes, I get that. Like we have to learn from our mistakes we made in the past instead of just falling back on things that we're told. But in mirroring to that, like speaking about Daredevil, I mean, I grew up Catholic, so for me, I identify with him and Nightcrawler in a lot of ways. But the fact that Nightcrawler was like, he was actually saying real Catholic prayers, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah. Two of the things he did was actually like, oh, that's the All Father. And so the fact that he's using that to put strength into both him and both Magneto and Dr. Charles, Professor Charles, while he's sitting there like comforting them, you know what I'm saying? Like it was cool to see both sides of the religion take in this one episode as well.
Yeah, I mean, such an awesome detail. And yeah, just everybody's trying to help in the way they can, right?
Exactly,
and everybody's trying to comfort each other in the way they can. You know, telepathically with the Summers, saying the prayer with the rosary reads over Professor X and Magneto by Nightcrawler. We have already mentioned Morph with Wolverine. Like everybody's doing what they can to support each other.
Yeah.
And I think that is just amazing. And it's just so true to all the characters. It's like, it's so simple to give us something that makes us feel like they're the characters you're showing us, right? And it's like, why does that not always happen in movies and shows? It's like so simple. And this show is showing it's so simple. Why do you make it overly complicated? And God, man, yeah, I love that so much. Some of the other little cameos that I saw, we got some of the people from Alpha Flight. which is the Canadian mutant team. Wolverine was a part of it for a little bit.
That's right. I forgot about that.
We see, they had Puck, they had Aurora, they had North Star, I want to say. We got to see Omega Red, and I want to say it's Orphan Maker. I'm not sure. On the boat in the mind of Magneto, in the shadows, we see Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. And on the opposite side, we see Magneto's other daughter, Polaris.
Yeah.
So, damn, like all Magneto's kids are in the shadow.
Love it.
Incredible. Let's see, who else am I missing here?
Morph turned into Mr. Fantastic. He turned into some lizard guy I didn't see. I think he actually turned
Sauron.
into... Okay, so what was it? Okay.
Yeah, he turned into Sauron from the Savage Land, which again that goes back to the animated series. Like if you go to that episode where Dr. Sinister or Mr. Sinister captured all of the X-Men, Sauron is there, becomes a big part of the story. So that was cool. But the Mr. Fantastic did not even occur to me that could be an option. So when I saw Mr. Fantastic, I was like, Jesus, they are going for it here.
Absolutely.
That was wild.
Yeah. I can't think of any of the other ones, but there was Morph has really been an elevated character to me. Somebody I didn't really like. Oh, that's cool. I remember him from the beginning of the other one and the Mr. Sinister stuff, but truly one of my favorites of this season. I mean, there's so many good ones.
Yeah, Morph has just been incredible. But the last one I want to call out because people I think will yell us if I don't say it, but like Psylocke, we saw that.
Psylocke, with the swords.
Yeah, I can't remember where they were, but and I don't remember which mutants are standing around her, but I was like, damn, Psylocke's there. Very much an option to join the team for the next season. So
I think that would be a good choice too.
So speaking of that too, towards the end, we see that there's a poster on the wall after the team is basically teleported away from Asteroid M. Yeah. I wrote down who those mutants were. Let me see if I can pull this up really quick.
I saw Colossus on that. I'm like, you better give him a call. I want Colossus on, this new team.
I'm really surprised we didn't get at least a little cameo from Colossus. But on that board, we see that Scarlet Witch. So we get another nod to her. It says off-world. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Like, why? She's the only one that had the designation of off-world. I thought that was interesting. Then it goes Colossus, Dust, Magic, Iceman, Havoc, Exodus that we saw at Genosha, which I love Exodus, Kitty Pryde, and Emma Frost. Which at one point, all of these characters, except for Exodus, I don't know if he was on the team, was an X-Men. So, dude, that was an incredible little Easter egg to drop at the end of this episode.
I think the best Easter egg, though, is the mid-credit scene.
Yeah.
When we have Mr. Apocalypse is over there on the destroyed Genosha, and he picks up a playing card, and I was like, yes!
Yeah.
I'm so happy.
Oh, I know. That's so cool, because we know we've already gotten the 4 Horsemen of Apocalypse before in the animated series. A lot of people have rightfully predicted that Gambit would be death, and he even says it right at the end, right? It's like, oh, my mutants... He goes, oh no, so much pain, my children, so much death. And just lingers on the death part. Picks up the card.
Which I think is a good little omen to back when Professor X was in space and he had a vision of Gambit as a skull. Could have been like him becoming death.
Good tie-in. You're right. Nice. See the payoffs in this show. It's like these little Easter eggs, and you're like, okay, that's just a cool thing, but it's like a weird Easter egg. And you're like, oh, because Gambit died on Genosha, that must be it.
Yeah.
But the even bigger payoff of like Gambit's gonna come back as one of the 4 Horsemen of Apocalypse, like, dude, we're eating so well from this season.
When Angel becomes one of the Apocalypse, one of his horsemen, I loved it so much in the comics back in the day. I was like, man, they made Angel cool.
Yeah.
So
that's funny. I always thought, like, people were like, it's so dumb, all you can do is fly. It's true, but we can't fly. And like this something about the angel wings, I don't know if it ties into again the whole Daredevil of it all or the Nightcrawler of it all, but like that imagery has always been beautiful to me, and him being an original character. But you're right, he got way upgraded with the metal wings, and so that was cool how they've been kind of showing it all season.
I think the movie, I think it was X2, did him really, really well, because I think they showed the innocence of his mutant ability. Like he's hiding it from his dad, kind of like what we got with Sunspot in this one, hiding it from his dad. He shows it's just wings. He's not dangerous. He can fly. He could only save people with his wings. And it was a really nice thing where it's like not all mutants are ending the world level mutants. A lot of them just have wings,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And there's a whole designation. Everybody knows Omega level mutant, right? It's like the upper echelon. Nobody can top their power in their power set. That's why Magneto is an Omega level now, because there's no stronger mutant at controlling magnetism. So that makes sense. But yeah, there's gamma, delta, beta, all the above. And like, yeah, it's cool. Although I will say, just to kind of push my glasses up here, he has increased strength, increased vision, can fly at almost supersonic speeds. Like he has hollow bones, strong bone. Like so, he is pretty super. I will say
When
for
you
my
do,
angel stands out there.
Yeah, so I do like the I try to do little breakdowns of some of these characters and stuff like that. I love how much every single time Marvel says like increase strength. There you go. You got your
Got my angel character. Yeah.
But I like how every time Marvel's like, yeah, increase strength, increase this. Like they just give increased strength to anybody who has any kind of mutant ability half the time. So I like I'm sure Nightcrawler, who does not need increased strength, has increased strength just because like, well, he's an expert.
Sure. The one thing on that note, something that we got when we were kids, when they had the Marvel Encyclopedia, was the power set or like the categories. And when you flip through the catalog or like the manila folder that said Magneto protocols, it had all of that: intelligence 3,
That's cool.
power 4, whatever, which was such a throwback to when we were kids. I was like, damn, they're really pulling out all the stops in this episode. So go back and check that out when he's going through the Magneto protocols.
I cannot suggest it enough, guys. If you actually straight up go to marvel.com and look up the character bios, which I do often for a lot of research stuff, and they do the exact same thing on the top. You can actually see the numbers. Yeah, so it's so cool to be like, really, I wouldn't think this character's smarter than that character, but Marvel says it is. So there you go.
Right. I know I have some quarrels with some of that stuff, but it is supposed to be the official one. So
yeah.
We'll take it. But yeah, man, okay, we didn't even talk about, so combining their powers, they stop Asteroid M from crashing into Earth.
Yeah.
And then right before it hits, they all get teleported away to two different timelines, right? We get the 3000 BC in Egypt, which has Rogue, Nightcrawler, Beast, Professor X, and Magneto. And, they start battling all these different Egyptian warriors. And we get to see not Apocalypse yet, but En-Sabah-Nur. Yeah. And so this is before the Celestials have given him the armor, that have tinkered with his DNA, that's really turned him into Apocalypse. And I love that we're kind of seeing an origin for Apocalypse here. And I have to go back and do my research because this is so crazy. I don't know how they get back to their timeline. I don't know how this interaction goes. Like, this is such a blank spot in my knowledge. And that was fantastic. What are your thoughts seeing this team get shot back into the past?
I'm excited to see an origin story for Apocalypse. I'm excited to see Bishop jump around in time, and probably a really good way to get more cameos. If he jumps back to Hank Pym being Ant-Man or whatever. Yeah, like we could see all kinds of cool stuff with that.
Definitely.
But yeah, I think that was really cool. And then, of course, it was 3,000 years in the past, 3,000 years in the future, both the exact same spot, I noticed, with the pyramids in the background show where they're at. If you look at both places, they're in the same spot, just different times. So I thought that was a cool touch,
I didn't
too.
catch that. Dang, nice. Hell yeah. Okay, so then, we see 3,000, 3960 AD with Scott and Jean.
Yeah.
We already talked about Clan Ascani and young Nathan. It's very interesting why they picked these two timelines. I wonder if we are going to be getting a Rachel Summers, which is another one.
That's a really big character, yeah.
Yeah, massive character. I think this could also lead to maybe a Nathan Summers down the line, which everybody loves Nathan Summers. He's kind of Cable if he never got infected with the techno-organic virus and is just limitless, fully Omega level. I think in a lot of ways stronger than Jean, but just looks cool, has the long hair with the white streak. He very much looks like a Jesus type of character.
Yeah.
I think his X-Men name is X-Man, which is kind of funny.
It is X-Men, yeah.
Yeah. So, man.
Who does he... God, I'm trying to remember. I know X-Man fights somebody... Oh, Onslaught. Yeah, he's a big part of Onslaught's story, actually.
Yeah, because Onslaught tries to absorb him into him to take over his powers.
That's right.
Along with another Omega level mutant, Franklin Richards.
Yes, which we got Fantastic Four. We got Mr. Fantastic. I know that was Morph, but nevertheless, yeah, Franklin Richard. Talk about like just power scaling up. I love how every time like a Marvel comic book gets to where it's like, and then they deal with the ultimate thing. It's like, here comes Franklin Richards walking by. It's just so fucking strong. It's crazy.
Yeah, they have to figure out a way to take Franklin Richards out because he could just solve everything if he wanted to.
Yeah, I want to make a prediction. So, and this has nothing to do with any of the comic books or anything like that, but we don't know where Morph and Wolverine went. And I want to say they go to late 1800s, exact same spot as well, which is when they're digging up King Tut's tomb. And so we would relive Wolverine's childhood. If they use the origin story where he kills his dad, we would see him kind of like go back to his home and see, the remnants of that and maybe meet his younger self.
Ooh, damn, that would be sick. That would be so sick. Yeah, I love that. I don't know. You're right. I didn't see where they went. So I'm fully on board with that, man. That would be incredible. We haven't gotten an origin story really for this Wolverine, so I'm about it. And he doesn't have his adamantium. It would make sense if he wanted to live during this time period or walk around like. Not that it would affect it if he had adamantium or not, but
no. But he has the claws, and like in the '90s comic books, he had the bandana. He was very, very '90s.
Yeah, no nose Wolverine.
But then, was it Liefeld that was doing that? It seems like
it seemed like a Liefeld.
Yeah,
that
guy.
sure.
Amazing how much he can't draw, and he's so well known for his drawing. But if you look at like the origin comic book, and then also the Wolverine movie did the same thing, the Wolverine origin, where he like stabs his dad's abusive. I think we could totally get that story in this one, but like maybe he gets there after those events and he sees a young Wolverine, and they both don't have, so he doesn't have to explain the adamantium part. They both would have claws, bone claws. I don't know. It's something fun there. It'd be cool. Morph trying to fit in with everybody else too would be interesting. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. I mean, and Morph could basically go to any timeline and be fine, so to speak, because they can transform into whatever they want or whoever they want. So I think that would be great. But also seeing them get to team up again and kind of go on an adventure together would be really sick. I don't care what timeline they're in. That would be awesome.
I'm trying to think. I know it's probably very Western culture. It is very Western culture to me. I'm like, what other famous time was there in Egypt? And I'm like, well, okay, so they did ancient Egypt, so I think the next thing would be like finding the tombs and stuff like that and all those, and like, oh, they're gonna go back to UK then. Makes sense for Wolverine.
Okay, oh man, I was also thinking because someone had to teleport them there, and Bishop says, it's like maybe someone brought them there. Or
I assumed it was
Apocalypse,
right? But yeah.
But what if, because we're in the multiverse saga, it's Kang? And what if
holy cow
where Wolverine and Morph went was when Rama Tut and the Fantastic Four first meet Kang as Rama Tut?
I mean, yeah. What year is that? Is that like 2000?
No
I think it's probably like 2000 BC probably. It's hard. It's hard because the apocalypse of it all really throws Egypt off. But yeah, that's a good one. I like that idea.
Yeah, but I mean, it could be there. It could be all Kang related still. I'm not saying.
It could straight up be Moon Knight. We could get Moon Knight too. Like, it could really be anything around Egypt, which is a lot of really cool. I like the aesthetics of Egypt, so that's cool. I'm happy we're there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Moon Knight had a lot. Like, that lore is awesome, for sure.
I need to read their new comic books right now, because Moon Knight is basically fighting Wakanda. So I need to. It's the Ultimates thing right now going on over there, so I need to check that out.
Yeah. One dangling thread I want to ask you about, because it still wasn't answered. There were so many predictions about this, and it even got me, and I thought, yeah, that's probably true. Dr. Cooper, she's been the human among the mutants all season. Everybody was like, I think that's Mystique. We still don't get an answer to that. Do you think Dr. Cooper is Mystique, or do you think Dr. Cooper is just Dr. Cooper?
I think it's just Dr. Cooper, but yeah, I don't see Mystique staying out of the game. So I could see that there. Like, especially since the intro that shows like the two attacking, and then the center you see the Prime Sentinels running. That's such a good indicator of what's going on. And Mystique's always there. Emma Frost is always there too, but she's on the bad guy side. So yeah, I could see that. I believe that.
Yeah, I was really surprised that we didn't get an exact nod to Mystique.
Yeah.
Because again, with the homework that Bodemao gave everybody, Mystique was very prominent in that episode at the beginning where she transforms into Gambit. So I was like, oh, they're gonna do something with Mystique, but she never pops up. So that really actually surprised me. I think Dr. Cooper could still be Mystique.
I think so. Yeah, I would have some questions on to why. But yeah, the sympathy for Magneto, I could see that. Okay, there's definitely some options there. Yeah, I'm down for it.
Yeah.
All right, this has been an excellent finale and the season as a whole. I think after really discussing it and really thinking about it, I think I got to give it a 9 out of 10 for the season as a whole. I think the rush storylines on things I think they could have made entire seasons for. I kind of would have liked to dig into those a little bit more, but it is a very high 9 for me. What do you think?
Yeah, my critical brain is saying 9.5 out of 10 or like 4.5 out of 10, but my heart says 10 out of 10, baby. 5 out of 5. This was the best show I feel like I've watched all year. It made me so happy week in and week out. Even in the sad episodes, just the discourse around it, the vibe from everybody, the amazing just little kid emotion that popped out of me every episode. I can't feel anything less for it. Again, I want to be critical, but I said at the beginning when we first started reviewing the show, I'm not going to be fair about this at all, and I'm still not going to be. This is a fucking 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5.
I do want to give a shout out to the community that's really been building around this, like the discourse online, and it's nice to have it about something cool like X-Men. But like as we're talking, I'm just seeing people like my threads from last night about like how cool was Rogue or whatever, and just
popular.
like people are so hyped on it right now, like that. But that's the thing, is people are talking about X-Men's the only reason that's working, and so what I'm saying, it's just cool to see that then people are just excited about it. I've had people ask me questions and stuff like that, like, let me look it up, I don't know. And so it's been fun.
Oh, it has been so great. In preparation for this episode, I was like, I got to learn everything I can from the early 90s. So I'm like going through Marvel Unlimited. I'm looking at all these comics, and we get to the part right before Onslaught shows up. And I look at the full run, the full series, and I see the first comic book I ever buy. And it was in 1996. I don't remember the month. And I'm looking at the cover and I'm like, oh my God, we're at this point in the story for the animated series, but also like this is literally where I first started loving comics, powers, Marvel, superheroes, anything. And it just like, I had such a surreal, like almost out of body experience yesterday. Like not yesterday, I guess it was a couple days ago, like realizing that I'm like, oh my God, my life has kind of come full circle to this moment, and it was just it hit me so hard. And I haven't experienced anything like that. We're like, maybe we're finally at that age where things when we were younger maybe are getting revitalized. I mean, this very much the case, but like things are being answered. And dude, it just brought me right back to being 7, 8 years old and being in that comic book shop. I can remember standing there, rifling through the rack and just looking at covers and thinking like, this one's cool. And seeing Beast and Bishop and Gambit on the cover and like, dude, it's so surreal for me that we're here, and this show is as good as it is. So I don't know. It's hitting me at such an emotional level, man. It's pretty.
Well,
wild.
I want to add on that. Think about what your childhood self that's watching Saturday morning cartoons, watching the X-Men animated series. What would they want to do if this is coming back in the future? They'd want to wait up till the midnight, something they couldn't do, to watch an episode, text their friend about it, post it with a community of other people who are hell excited about it. The next day, spend an hour just talking about X-Men. Like literally, you're living your childhood dream right now by doing all that.
You're right, man. Yeah. We had some rough things in our timeline, but you know what? I wouldn't change this timeline for the world, man. This is so good.
I'll take this part of it. I could change other things, but
I don't know, man. If it brought me to this moment, we're getting Deadpool and Wolverine. As an X-Men fan, God, like I wouldn't even be on this podcast if not for X-Men the animated series.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know if I'd change it.
Yeah. It's amazing how much like the X-Men fans have been just like, we'll be patient. We're fans of Iron Man. But boy, this year has been X-Men feast. The 3 new comic book lines and the new X Factor, which I haven't written the article for that, but I need to. The new X Factor comic book that was just announced. Like, there's so much X-Men stuff going on. It's so cool.
It is, yeah, and well deserved, and society is ripe for it. I feel like there were so many things this season that really were timely. Like so many things we're dealing with, so many issues that still affect society. Like people all the complaints before the show ever dropped was like, oh, all this woke BS, but it's like. Yeah, maybe to some people, but at the same time, like, they're real issues. They're things that we have to address. They're things we have to talk about. Nothing good ever comes from pushing something under the rug. Yeah. I think that
That's literally the point of X-Men. I'm sorry. That's like the whole freaking point.
Yeah, but also like, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. And, so many times people look at different people and they think, well, you're this, or your skin color, or you have this disability, or you have this sexual orientation. And it's so bullshit. Excuse me, part of the French. I've dropped a few curse words in this one, but it's like, we really have to look at each other as more. We really have to try to embrace people for who they are. We really have to try to meet people where they're at. And I think if people get anything from this cartoon besides all that cool stuff, it's like, I hope they get a little taste of some of how amazing that story is and how important it still is for people today.
I mean, I can't top it. Perfectly well said. Yeah. I think that's how we have to really close this episode, honestly. Guys,
okay.
It's been a beautiful ride, and I thank you guys very much for joining us. Next, do you have anything else to say before I close out?
No, man.
That was such a good thought. I was like, that's the clip. Me, I'm always thinking about the Instagram clips. Guys, next we're going to be doing It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That'll be coming out on ideally Friday. And then what's our next show? God, what am I saying? In June is insane. So we have Acolyte, we have The Boys, so many things. You're going to get a lot from us.
Totally. We have something coming out in May, but it's escaping me right now. Follow us on social media so you see what that is. Because we're usually hinting at, if not talking about what we're reviewing, we're at least hinting at what's coming next. So join us over there, and we would love to hear your thoughts on it. Like Frank was saying, Threads is booming for us. We're getting a ton of comments. We're having so much fun over there. Follow us over there. Interact with us. Send us an email, drop a review, whatever you want to do. We'll take it all. Yeah, we'll definitely take the review, but we'll take it all just to hear from you on this one. If there's something we didn't mention in this episode and you're screaming at your phone right now that you're like, why didn't you mention this? Please do it. We'll probably have a bunch of other clips coming out from X-Men 97. I don't think this will be the end just because the season is done. And yeah, it's just been a time.
Yep, it's been fun, guys, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Aloha.